I would like to call the hero of the summit, our very own president of AKT Health, Mr. Aditya Kumar Talapragada, also the co-founder and CEO of Medifact. Thank you so much, Aditya, for taking the time. I know it's crazy busy schedule, but I'm sure everyone's looking forward to your session today. To give a brief introduction about Aditya, like I said, he's the co-founder and CEO of Medifact and president of AKT Health with over 15 plus years of international multilingual and multicultural experience and a successful entrepreneur in the health tech and fintech space. Aditya drew on his passion for innovation and education and founded Medifact, a decentralized healthcare ecosystem platform that uses a combination of blockchain, IoT, and machine learning technologies. With his team of functional and technical experts, Medifact is aiming to come up with products that improves patient centricity as well as focus on customer experience. He is a passionate speaker. That's why we are very, very delighted to have him on board today. An investor, financial advocate, and strategic technical and investment advisor for blockchain companies and startups, and helps them find innovative solutions and create tangible and measurable business benefits. And he's joining us from Japan.
So, yeah, thank you very much for the kind introduction, Rashmi. And it's always great to be here every year talking about something new. I think it was a great session from Dr. Raj, in terms of how we can actually do an M&A, how we can raise funds. And then, that's what every startup is looking at, how we build teams, how we, how we integrate things and how we regulate those things. I think that's what the topic this time has been. So, and then the next session from Sasara Sensei was absolutely mind blowing, because I'm going to continue from or maybe give a kind of an extension of what Sasara Sensei is talking about, because our the new project that we started is a combination of what Sasara Sensei was talking, and also how we actually regulate all these things to actually build a project, and from Dr. Raj. So it's a good actually follow up on both the presentations that we are. So before I just jump into the topic, actually today we are going to discuss about of course, we have seen how the remote patient monitoring area has been growing, and I'll give you a brief about all those areas. But before I get into the topic, I just wanted to go back and so last year I spoke about enhancing patient experience to data-driven transformation and patient-centric strategy. This is what we spoke last year. I think what happened after last year and 1 year was we have been seeing a lot of pharmaceutical companies going around and having patient-centric initiatives. And then we also spoke about how they want to invest into patient centricity, how they want to improve patient experience, and how they want to improve the patient data. There's a lot of talk has been happening, but we don't see the kind of investment that's going into bringing more applications, bringing more patient-centric services and things like that. So that's why we thought, okay, why not we address those gaps and start building a product which completely addresses, we in fintech space, we have, in the past, we saw a lot of projects which are very independent single application projects. But nowadays we started to see that all the applications started to build and make a all-in-one applications, like if you see in India, you have Paytm, which has like tons of applications inside a fintech app. And then in Japan also we started to see a lot of applications merging into having one application. So we thought, okay, why can't we come up with something where we address a lot of the patient challenges, address improve patient experience. And then we also saw a lot of pharmaceutical companies, how they are investing into connected devices, how they are improving their patient support programs, how they are looking into their cancer patients. And if you look at the next slide, this is just a normal understanding of how digital health innovation has been going on. You see hardly any country, even the most developed countries where I live in, Japan, is still lacking in terms of overall score in digital health innovation. There are huge gaps. See, the difficult challenge has been, as Sasara-san also said in the past, in the previous, is integration. Integration of legacy systems with the advanced technologies. That has been the biggest challenge in terms of digital health innovation, and then access to the patient data. So looking at all these areas, looking at the pandemic that we had, even in this, the disease prevention, pandemic preparedness, and the patient-centric care, you should look at the top ranking, Switzerland. It's completely uh, good because it excels in disease prevention, pandemic preparedness, patient-centric care, and infrastructure. I think if India needs to be going there and becoming one of the top in digital health innovation, I think most of the things that we need to focus on is obviously the patient-centered care. And of course, pandemic preparedness comes as well, and then infrastructure investment into new infrastructure, and then disease prevention. These are the main things that we have been actually researching and looking at. This is just a general idea on how we can, where we can invest, how we can invest, and what kind of technologies we can invest going forward. And then this is like a normal. This is what I was talking. Is there is this so many problems that we could address. The data, legacy systems, the security vulnerabilities, cost, and then lack of patient trust. And then advanced technologies. So what are the solutions? I think we thought, okay, how about introducing more medical devices, AI based? I think in the previous presentation, Dr. Raj was talking about connectivity, AI, and then I think that's where we are trying to invest in. Our product is mostly based on these advanced technologies and remote care. So I'll jump into the next slide where we talk about how the new technologies, especially during the COVID, I think you see most of the clinical trials happen decentralized way, because decentralization is one space where every country needs to improve, because there's lack of technologies, there's lack of preparedness, there's lack of awareness, infrastructure, and so many things. So that's why we see these areas where remote patient monitoring, decentralized clinical trials, and digital therapeutics as well. This is one of the biggest areas that we saw that has been accelerating, of course, because of the adoption, because of the price, and because of the quality of the care they get, and of course the regulatory compliance as well. So going to the next slide, I think also, if you look at the advanced technologies that we are into, is like IoMT, Internet of Medical Things, AI, and blockchain in healthcare. This has been growing very rapidly. I think Dr. Sasara-san also said that blockchain in healthcare and AI in healthcare is one of the areas. I think that's where we are focusing right now, and investing our product into. And then my next topic goes to, is a continuation of Healthcare 3.0. Is basically, I think, how the patient owns his data. So I think we already spoke about Web3, metaverse, NFTs, and in patient care and healthcare. So that's what I think, that's where we are talking about Web 3.0 in the general scenario, but we are talking about Healthcare 3.0 in healthcare space, where we use blockchain network to store the data. We identify the risk factors using different types of medical devices. We give patients the whole control of data, so that actually they could give access to their data and then get some rewards. Next, I'm talking about the blockchain. Of course, we just already spoke how blockchain is growing, and then now we see how the AI has been actually has been implemented in the healthcare sector in terms of improving patient experience. If you look at pharmaceutical companies, have been already investing into accelerated drug designs, clinical precision medicine, and providers have been doing like patient screening and then document processing. I think if you look at the validated early stage and conceptual stage, there are areas where EHR interoperability, whereas we look at the biggest gap with traditional systems trying to connect with the normal systems. And then I think America has been doing this. They have introduced FHR, HL7 kind of generalized APIs so that they could be more interoperability. Of course, diagnostic image and then data generation, inventory tracking. There's huge space in the AI sector that that could improve patient experience. And then if you look at a very small snapshot of the kind of data that we are dealing with, healthcare data, personal data, the patient data, we are dealing about pharmaceutical data, clinical trials, manufacturing data, supply chain data. There's huge data lying around, and then there's very difficult to actually come up and create the language models and then come up with a solution for all this data. So that's where I think we are going. And of course, when we are dealing with such an amount of data, obviously we see that there are huge cyber threats, security issues, and then these security issues come up from either the storage where we provide the services. Sometimes the devices get hacked. There are some cyber security issues. So looking at all these things, we thought, okay, how about securing the data first through a blockchain, understanding the access of the data, and then looking at how blockchain can solve few of these healthcare data security issues and threats. So, and then slowly you could see that if you link the blockchain, and then there are few areas where we can actually solve a few issues of the healthcare sector. So that's where I think we came up with a new product that we are building right now, which is completely AI powered medical decision support solution, but all the data is actually. So initially we started this looking at the requirement from the pharmaceutical companies who wanted to become more patient centric. Of course, we want to improve the patient experience, but how do we collect the data? How granularly we can connect the data, and then what is the best solution out there in order to collect the data, in order to analyze the data, in order to secure the data, and also follow the regulatory concepts of the entire architecture in general. So that's when we have been looking at different solution. Of course, we found that, okay, we can collect a lot of data through IoT. Of course, we can actually secure the data through blockchain. Of course, we can give a better support to the patient. We can do patient adherence to AI through AI. So that's when okay, how about we create an architecture where we do the remote patient monitoring and then support the decentralized clinical trials, and then in turn provide the digital therapeutics, the digital therapy as a solution. That's when we came up with this product where it actually captures the remote patient monitoring. They look this, and then we have AI based dashboards. Of course, I'm not drilling deeper into individual areas right now because of the time. Of course, I can actually we can actually, or you can send me a message and we can actually connect, and I'll give you a more detailed explanation of how individually we are working on creating the language models for AI, what kind of blockchain we are using in terms of yeah. So here is a very brief space where we actually are trying to connect with a lot of devices. Of course, people who are familiar with the clinical trials, they understand what e-consent is, they know what the e-pro is, what our patient diaries are, and that's the very common feature of a patient reported outcome space. But then what differentiation that we bring into this patient reported outcomes is that we move all the data into a hybrid blockchain. Of course, when you talk about clinical trials, there is DICOM data and there is non-DICOM data, I mean imaging data and all. So these kind of things doesn't have to be on the blockchain because it makes the system heavier. So we came up with an idea of hybrid cloud where we combine the legacy systems and then connect with the private key to the blockchain, so that the patient identity is always on the blockchain, and then only whenever imaging data is required, we just call an access to the legacy systems through this private chain, and then we actually integrate the one single patient data. I think we just spoke about NFTs. So the idea is to actually have an individual patient identity as an NFT on the blockchain, and then when uh, this is like a very here what you're seeing is a very simple architecture, but I think it goes a lot more deeper. Because of the time restriction, I cannot go deeper, but we have been giving weightages to the kind of data that comes into the blockchain architecture. For example, you have physical activity data, you have survey data, you have some games that we are integrating. So all this for example, if a patient is actually doing a physical activity, the importance of the weightage of that particular data doesn't really contribute so much to the patient experience. But if you're looking at the respiratory rates, blood levels, glucose levels of the patient, that data is actually helping in terms of research, and then it's helping in terms of improving patient care. So that kind of data has more weightage. So in depending on what kind of weightage that each patient actually contributes to the blockchain, they get incentivized, and then this incentivization actually will help them reduce the insurance premiums. I think we are already talking to a couple of banks here, and then we are already talking to an insurance. We are talking to a couple of insurance companies and a bank too, in order to integrate wellness data, clinical data, and then create a weightage to those data, and then connect with an insurance system to either provide a cashback or provide a discount on their insurance premium for the next year, depending on their health, depending on kind of data that they contribute or share to the ecosystem. So I think and then once we get all this data from the patient reported outcomes, from the wearables during I think we also spoke about metaverse. That's the, as I told initially, that healthcare doesn't have a one big application where it could solve multiple issues, and then also provide support to the mental health and things like that. So all in all, this is the project that we've started based on our experience in technology space, based on our experience in the healthcare space, combining experience in the security. As a group, we have been involved with multiple companies, and then we all came up together and then created this architecture to solve the patient and improve the patient experience, solve the patient data issues. And slowly, and we have been connecting with lots of devices to this. It's just if you look at the vitals that we are looking at here, we're looking at glucose, weight, blood pressure, respiratory, and it's not like we are going to integrate one or two devices. I think, of course, if there is original equipment that we are investing and creating our own, there we would be actually sticking to one or two devices, but otherwise we kind of can integrate into any Android based or iPhone based devices and then get the data. Usually, if you look at the entire process of RPM, DCT, and the digital therapeutics, I think we come into a class where we actually would be recognized as a software as a medical device. So this is not just a mobile app. This is more like a software as a medical device, improving the patient care, connecting the IoT, blockchain, and AI. So I think we've been speaking to the regulatory authorities. Yesterday, we spoke to the regulatory authorities, and then we spoke about what are the things that we need to consider in terms of quality, in terms of data collection, in terms of providing the algorithms to digital therapeutics. So I think, and in turn, if you look at the AI space or the normal data collection space, we kind of also moving toward the service-based model as well. Of course, patient improvement is one area that we would be focusing, but of course, patient, unless and until we do the data analytics, look at the quality of life, look at the wellness score, look at how we can actually use AI models to intervene and then predict the disease, look at the disease prevalence, look at the segmentation market, preparedness for the pandemic. And then I think, so this is kind of one all-in-one app where we actually look at both technology space and also the healthcare space, improving the patient experience, and then slowly solving one challenge after the other. So next, I'll quickly jump into one of the areas that we are now looking at is we are predicting the hospitalization rate of a cancer patient by capturing the heart rate, respiratory rate, and temperature. And then we were able to predict at least like 14 to 18 hours in advance that the patient would be hospitalized. And then usually, so we look at the medication reminders, create the rules, and then how we interact with the patient, and then slowly intervening to the hospitals or the sub healthcare systems where we actually give them a message and then ask the take care of the patient. So it's like a normal patient reported outcomes, but I think it's more like a super app where we combine multiple areas. I think this is one of the this is the kind of devices that we are right now working, which are completely regulated. Of course, device is regulated, but in terms of since we are registering as a software as a medical device, the challenge here is not just the device would be one of the components of the entire architecture, where the AI based intervention engine also comes into the picture, where we predict the hospitalization based on the data that's collected from the patient. So yeah, I think that's all from my side. I think there's a lot more to discuss, of course, but I'll just close it down so that if there are any questions that I could take, and then because I also want to discuss about how the sharing of the data comes in, and then of course this how we calculate the share, what's the rewards that the patient would get when they share the data. And then how there's a whole bunch of technology, and then the sharing of data and then what kind of blockchain we are using, how we are saving the data. I think this is not not enough time to actually complete this session even in a single shot. So anyone who has questions, or anyone who wants to get a deeper dive into individual technologies that we are investing, the kind of devices that we are using, the kind of language models that we are building, and then of course how we are building the the generative AI language model, how we are connecting with the other databases, healthcare, electronic health records, clinical trial systems. So of course, we are also connecting with local partners where they provide the education content for the patient. We are connecting with the gaming companies where they provide games based on the therapeutic area, based on the kind of disease they are. So it's like a huge ecosystem where we are collaborating with a lot of companies in terms of building games, in terms of language, education content, in terms of device integration. So anyone who has a network, who understands or want to be a part of this ecosystem, they're always welcome. And then we will be very happy to connect or collaborate with companies in any capacity that we could. That's all from my side. I think Rashmi, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Aditya. There's one question already. We'll just take one question. Everybody else. So a lot of people are actually requesting the presentation, Aditya. So we'll have to have a shareable presentation ready.
Okay.
Okay.
That's
And
absolutely fine.
Yeah, and one question that we have is when do you plan to launch Impact Health and in which countries?
Okay, so we have a development roadmap already ready for that. I think first country that we would be launching is Japan, because we are already progressing very well with the regulatory authorities here, and then we are looking at a timeline of 6 months, because regulatory approval takes time in Japan. That's one of the challenges that we are looking at. But in terms of remote patient monitoring, I think the if you look at the overall app, the remote patient monitoring, if you have a device which is already approved in the Japan market or in the US market, we could do remote patient monitoring. But if we have to do decentralized clinical trials and digital therapeutics, we need an extra level of regulatory approval. So if we can still use the remote patient monitoring tool, which would be more of similar to like a patient reported outcome kind of to as well, combination of patient reported outcome and the remote patient monitoring. That could be used in any country from around April. But if we have to integrate the AI models and the in what do you say that rules for the intervention, it will take a time about like November is what we are looking at next year, if we have to look at the entire complete product.
Great, perfect. Thank you so much, Aditya, for such an insightful session. You can see the feedback, like people are actually asking for more. Definitely, we will come up, I think, with a series of webinars for Impact Health. Until then, we will share the presentation to everybody who has requested. Thank you so much, Aditya.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone.